Now, the next paradigm is fabulous unfairness. I want you to really get this. Life isn't fair. Think about it. The cruel injustices of the world. There's over 150 plus 50 million orphans in the world. Suicide is the fourth leading cause of death in the world. Over 1 billion people don't have access to potable water. Forget clean, they don't have access to water. Women do 65% of the labor in the world, but control less than 15% of the wage bill and control less than 1% of the assets. Is that fair? Injustice? When kids write to Santa, the most requested item that kids write is they want a dad. So life's not fair. And so often we love uniqueness. We love our specialness. We're unique, we're different, but we get all huffy about advantages. Really think about that. So, what is the cost of this righteous indignation? We can have I've got a very strong shop steward energy. I want to right wrongs. I want to ensure that you have the training, the support, the skills you need. I feel it's so wrong that we're not taught how to manage our money, create wealth, only taught how to earn and work for money, and keeps people in these different treadmills. And I used to think the more I could shout and bang and be angry about it would get something done. But it's not a very useful state at all. I've truly never found a situation where anger, losing it, is the most empowering state to either achieve justice or wealth. So there's far more positive states that we can enable with, and letting go of needing the world to be fair has been really, really an important paradigm and paradox to embrace. Now, this is not about being okay with abuse and injustice, right those wrongs, but if we start off with a requirement that the world's meant to be on this equal plane is really dangerous. But I've also learned to not judge another soul's journey. I don't know why that soul has chosen a certain set of circumstances. And so stopping needing to rescue others so I don't feel uncomfortable is super important. So we've got to be careful that we don't hide behind unfairness to cover up for you staying in victimhood. That, and I'm going to talk about victimhood specifically around guilt. So, as I said, we can talk about good luck, bad luck, privilege, disadvantage, deserve, don't deserve, and we can get hooked on this narrow definition of fairness and an expectation that the world outside must align to our expectation, often a random set of rules that we've taken on, the way we believe the life will be. Often in relation, well, that's not fair, or it should be different. And we go, well, according to whom or according to what? So we often, the call for fairness is either to avoid that feeling strong emotions or an excuse for us to avoid taking ownership of our reality. But when we broaden our perspective, we also understand that fairness itself is completely subjective. The belief that life should be fair is deeply ingrained, but as a completely flawed concept. It assumes that rewards, consequences, opportunities, advantages, struggle should all be evenly distributed amongst people. Just think about that. It's impossible to have. In fact, would we want that? So this mindset can lead to unnecessary guilt about personal advantages. It can limit your gratitude about what's in your life already, because if you're now seeking comparison, if we're always looking for fairness, often we're looking at who's got more, who's got something different, and we've got the story, well, it should be the same, I should have that. But often when we're doing that, we're not going, well, what does somebody else not have? So if we're going to seek fairness, then we need to seek it up and down the chain, and ultimately trying to believe or create a state of this fairness in the world is just not achievable. So ironically, often this kind of guilt is deeply selfish, because if we feel guilty about what we have, or guilty that we might have this advantage as a result of creating wealth, we've really got to understand what is the issue around that. Because if we scrutinize fairness, we're going to find that it's impossible ideal to satisfy, because again, it's subjective. And so fairness is a construct. Is equality a component of fairness? A lot of people believe that equality needs to be in place, is a rule that we should all aim for. But is it fair that some die before others? Is it fair that some people are taller and others are shorter? Is it that some people have a certain athletic prowess in a certain area that gives them an advantage in that area? So we have different levels of intellectual capacity. Some are more creative than others. So we've got to go, well, fairness based on what? What are the arbitrary criteria we're using? And equality of what? Are we really saying that we should aim to all live exactly the same way, all have exactly the same tastes, all have exactly the same everything? To me, that sounds like hell. Hell has been tried by some communities. You know, it doesn't sound like life's incredibly infinite abundance expressing itself, where we get to choose what aligns to our unique, crazy, beautiful identity that we align with. And so, you know, we rarely get nature's not fair. Some people are born into wealth, some are born into poverty, and some are naturally gifted, and others have disabilities. The universe operates on randomness, and when we can let go that it's not about us, we can let go of feeling, you know, like a victim or as unfairness, and instead really understand, is that keeping us playing small? The world is not a moral world. It's not a, you know, they did or didn't deserve that. In fact, while we're on that word, let go of the word deserve, because to deserve implies that there's some kind of transactional aspect. And well, was I good enough? Was I a good girl to deserve this? So we end up in this performing and seeking that outside of ourselves. And so this whole deserving is such an aspect that it stems from the idea that I don't deserve this more than others, but it's misplaced, because you didn't create an unfairness in a situation, neither did another person. Because if we also talk about deserving, then we say, well, did a person deserve to be born in poverty or with some other struggle? So let go of that. It has no place truly in being able to be fully available to accept life. And when I say it prevents us from truly being able to be grateful for what's in our life, because guilt and gratitude can't coexist. Really understand that guilt and gratitude can't coexist. Gratitude is about recognizing and appreciating where you're already at, what you already have. And guilt is about feeling bad for having it. They're two polar opposite things. So notice where this is maybe coming up in your life. So notice where people downplay their success instead of appreciating. They downplay receiving a compliment, where they're playing small. Understand, your playing small does not serve the world at all. In fact, it wastes potential. And if you want to help the poor, don't be poor. And this is where we've got to go, oh, what are the beliefs I've had? Am I using them to play small? You know what? We all have unfair advantages. And that's okay, because we're not the same. But the decision is, are you wasting the advantages you have because you've got some story about feeling guilty or selfish? In fact, I'll say it's selfish to not use our unfair advantages we have. If you've got advantages, use them. I'm so grateful I've learned how to be great with money, because now I get to use those over and over and over. I get to keep increasing my wealth, my network, because now I've got more to contribute. I've got now more to help the things that I want to help. So I really want to challenge you. If there's any part of you, raging against the unfairness of the world, go, yes, it's unfair. It's not meant to be equal. That's part of this glorious, delicious, amazing thing. The question is, are you using your unfair advantages in service of you and life? That's what it's meant to be. You know, some of my greatest joys have been when I've helped repair injustice in the universe. But I could absolutely only do that by that it isn't fair, because then I can move forward instead of just raging against it.